What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about a canceled Crash Bandicoot 5. I don't know what happened over the last couple of days, but, last 2 days, today, I guess, there's been a lot of news, so I expect several videos, flying in throughout the day. But actually, I didn't plan this at all, but I actually have a Crash Bandicoot shirt on. I woke up knowing I was going to make the video, but almost subconsciously grabbed this shirt. I guess it's time to make a statement. What do we have here? We have a artist that claims, and there's really no reason to doubt it, right? And you can follow the history. He claims he was working on Crash 5, and he claims he was working on this game called Project Dragon, and that game is the one he's talking more about, right? He comes out on Twitter and he says, hey, I got a story to tell, and we've been fighting for this game for 3 years. I think the back and forth of it is a little bit confusing. The way I think about it is this Project Dragon, which was somewhat of like an open world Zelda-like thing, but it was almost like Spyro inspired in terms of like the design of some of the characters. That was a game that was very, very close to this person's heart and the team's heart, and that game, was canceled. And that game's got concept art, and that game's got all sorts of stuff that he is putting out there online because he's able to. Crash 5, he mentions, I believe, separately, or at least he goes into more detail separately by basically saying, like, one day the story is going to come out on Crash 5, and it's going to be heartbreaking. But he says, that was canceled as well. And here we are. Can I set the scene for you guys, okay? Picture this, right? We saved the Bandicoot the first time, right? We brought him back, and we got the Insane Trilogy. I would argue, because, I tweeted that we saved him twice, and the way I think about it is, we saved him once by making it a big deal and making it like a cult phenomenon, right? And he comes back, and we get the Insane Trilogy, and we get a couple games, right? We get a few remakes / remasters. We get a brand new Crash game. I would honestly argue that we saved the Bandicoot twice because of the Insane Trilogy. We supported it and showed our love and support, and then that got, more Crash games. How many times do we have to do this? How many times do we have to save the Bandicoot before we're just kind of guaranteed it comes back? Now, I am confused about a Crash 5 because there's kind of speculation of like, okay, well, who is in charge of canceling this, right? Like, why would you cancel Crash 5? Or no, I mean, actually, well, yeah, I guess why, but also who? And the thing is, a lot of people are, going after Xbox and Phil Spencer's of the world. I got to be honest, I don't think I'm willing to do that right now. I feel like Crash 5 would have been done or canceled a long time ago. And by a long time ago, I mean before Team Rumble, and that's when it was connected to Activision, and that's before, any of this, maybe when it was kind of ongoing, but not when Microsoft bought it. Now, there has been some weird stuff since, right? Like Toys for Bob purposely goes independent, but then works with Microsoft anyway, and is probably working on a Spyro game, right? So I guess the question is, like, if they were working and owned by, Activision, which is now owned by Xbox, would they have been allowed to do the same thing? That's like the wrench that's thrown into things for me, because the way I look at it is because of Team Rumble, because of the going towards like the live service, which look, I talk so much about Team Rumble. I probably made like 10, 15, 20 videos on it. I did like an RIP type video when it died on my third channel. I like that game. I like Team Rumble, but it undoubtedly was a disaster for Crash, right? Like they went the wrong direction. Nobody supported it, which was totally fine because, you have to maybe send a message, or people wanted to send a message, whatever the case may be. People didn't want them to do that. They did it. People didn't support it. Totally get it. I actually liked it, but I can fully say, like, it's not the right move. They shouldn't have gone that way. But I guess, again, the way I'm rationalizing in my head is, did they do that because a Crash 5 was already canned, right? And now, seemingly, that's under NDA because we really haven't heard the story of it yet. We just know that there was a Crash 5 at some point that was canceled, and we don't know anything else. We don't know what type of game or when or by who, any of that. The who, what, when, where, why. We don't know any of that stuff, and I'm sure eventually we will, but as of right now, we just, kind of at the edge of our seats. Not ideal. I'm actually a little bit more, like, I'm not as sad or depressed as I thought I'd be. No, I am upset about it, right? Like, Crash is one of my favorite franchises. Crash Bash was the first game I can remember myself ever playing. I mean, Crash will always be, maybe, besides Sly Cooper, the second most important game franchise of my entire life. That's just how close I am. So, to not, like, if we're not getting a Crash game for a long time, and if Crash is, like, dead again and we have to wait for it to come back out, that is when, because, like, there's still unanswered questions there, right? But I will flip out. I will get so mad, because one final part is, Like, I know I keep saying why, we don't know why, but truly why? Because Crash has done well. Like Team Rumble seemingly did terrible, like absolutely awful, right? But again, I'm going to assume Crash 5 was kind of before that. Why? Insane Trilogy didn't it do like 20 million units or something that they just announced a few weeks ago? Like, that is insane. And I know, okay, no pun intended, right? That's unbelievable that it's 20 million. That's a lot. And most games don't even sniff close to that. You know what I mean? And they got the 20. And yeah, like Crash 4 did about like 5 or so million. So, like, did that scare them? And I've seen like the back and forth of, I think there's a difference between Crash not selling enough, which is a narrative, and that could be true. But also, again, remember the things I've talked about actually on this channel specifically. Remember when it was during the you-know-what time of like 2020, 2021, and Activision was doing all hands on deck for Call of Duty, and they made every single studio, no matter what they were working on, they had them put their games down to work on COD. So, I'm not saying, I guess my direct point is, I feel like a lot of those franchises were expendable in place of Call of Duty. Call of Duty was the king, and nothing else truly mattered at the end of the day. And so was Crash 5 canceled around that time or because of that, right? Where it's like, I don't know. But that mentality maybe went through, you know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, we just made Crash 4. Can we make Crash 5? And, they're somewhat bigger games, bigger budgets, and they might look at it and say, well, really, we only have a couple things we care about here, and Crash isn't one of them. You can make this weird live service game that may or may not work and try it out, and it's not going to be a big game, and you're not going to have a lot of people to help you. Go ahead. That could have happened, so it could have been like a mix of things. But yeah, I mean, I think I would stand pretty firm on, if this is it, oh my God, I'm going to be absolutely furious. If this isn't it, and this was like a Crash 5, 3-4 years ago or whatever, and there's still a chance one can happen, then I'm less mad about it. But I don't know, I think, like, because of Spyro, and it's like, if Toys for Bob is making a Spyro game right now with like permission from Xbox, and Spyro Reignited Trilogy did half the numbers that the Insane Trilogy did, I just don't think Crash is dead. I flat out just don't think Crash will ever die. You know what I mean? So that's going to be my optimistic mindset right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.